We've seen Bitcoin slide down a little bit from this very important resistance area, and I want to break this down for you. Are we looking at seeing a little bit of trouble for Bitcoin again? Are we looking at revisiting the lows? Or is this just going to be a little bit of a temporary setback, and is Bitcoin still kind of off to the races, potentially about to get a really nice breakout? Well, it's an important question, and the reason that this is an important question is because if we are able to pump above this area of resistance right here, you guys are going to know this deal if you've been watching me on this YouTube channel over these last couple of days. I've been very vocal about how I'm expecting quite a nice pump up for Bitcoin. We did actually get above this line a couple of times, but none of them were significant enough in terms of being a breakout. We didn't even get 1% above, and generally we want to get 1 to 3% above the resistance level. Obviously 3% would be unreasonable because the move would nearly be completed at that time, but it is safe to say that these were obviously some quite normal fake outs for the market right here, which is unfortunate. But since then, we've actually been pulling back a little bit. And do you know what? I don't think this is down to Bitcoin. I think this is, something that's, going to be a little bit more to do with the S&P 500. Guys, if we take a look at this, the S&P 500, it managed to get, an interesting rally. I mean, we didn't quite get as high as I thought we would, but from then, pretty quickly, we've actually started to drop down. The S&P 500 has lost 4.5%. It's basically back down to the low that it set just about 4 days ago. And that's interesting because Bitcoin isn't. If we take a look at where Bitcoin is, at that same time, Bitcoin was, was somewhat close, but this was not the absolute low that we set recently, right? The recent low that we set, the big one, this was down at about $18,100. So we're still actually quite far above that area of, I don't want to call it support, but we're still quite far above that low. Whereas again, last time with the S&P 500, we basically fell down to a level that we're pretty close to right now. What is this telling me? It's telling me that the S&P 500 is losing strength faster with more vigor than Bitcoin is losing strength, which actually is exactly what I've been talking to you guys about on this YouTube channel as well, right? We've been seeing signs that Bitcoin has actually been relatively unshaken compared to the S&P 500, the dollar fluctuations, and so on. I think that's a really big deal, and I'm not sure if people are really paying attention to that right now. I've been saying this on the YouTube channel. I was actually sitting with a really good friend of mine. Shout out to, I don't want to say your name, but you know who you are. A really cool guy who I met at one of 𝗬𝗢𝗥𝗙𝗚𝗔𝗡 conference. He actually said the same thing to me back, and I realized, shit, this is a real thing. Bitcoin is kind of holding up, and well, it's either that or there's just less interest in the markets. Don't want to talk about that though. That's a little bit too depressing for this video. We'll talk about it later though. It's an important question because really what it means is that if Bitcoin is seeming more unshaken by what's going on the global stage, it's either because Bitcoin is strong or because Bitcoin is forgotten. And this forgotten theory, I don't think this applies today because we're still getting a pullback. It's not like Bitcoin is just sideways. If Bitcoin was sideways, then you could definitely say Bitcoin is forgotten. People aren't trading it anymore and so on and so forth. But that's not the case. Bitcoin is still pulling back, just not as badly as some of the other things going on. Again, we take a look at the dollar. Very, very important for our analysis. You guys would know this very well if you've been following me for a little while. It's still basically, it's on this parabolic rise right here. And this is important. When the dollar does rise, it does generally rise like this. If we take a look at this rise that happened kind of from 2014 into 15, it was rising up very quickly in somewhat of a similar fashion. So it's definitely not like completely out of the ordinary for the dollar to be pumping up this quickly with this much vigor. But again, all good things must come to an end. We can't just keep going up in a straight line forever. Well, we could. I guess this is the kind of downside is, the dollar can kind of do that. It's done this in the past. Take a look at what happened in 1981 going into 82. This was this was quite something to watch. Obviously, I was like very far away from being born at this time, but what's important is that the dollar actually did still end up pulling back by about 10-11%, despite how strong the rally was, until it eventually hit this high at 164. And again, if we kind of bring this back to where we are right now, we just haven't seen any sort of real pullback. So I was saying that I'm expecting some sort of a pullback. I'd still like to see that, but what we have gotten here, and I did warn you guys about this, is that if we do manage to rise above this box right here, then there's not really going to be any local resistance that I can see for the dollar on this chart before it's able to rise up much higher. higher. Interestingly, the pound isn't really getting smashed as badly right now. Neither is the euro. I mean, it's not looking too bad. It's definitely not looking great, but certainly not looking too bad. And I think that this is important right now, because if the dollar doesn't have a lot of resistance, then it could be able to rise up higher. And again, that would translate to potentially, quite large losses in these markets right here. We've also got this trend line. I'm going to be talking about that in just a second, but I do want to bring your attention back to, what happens if we do end up losing this area. I think this is really, really important, and I have been talking about this a fair bit as well over these last days. Guys, just double check that you're subscribed and you've got the bell icon checked, because if you're missing this content, you're missing really, really sound analysis, or at least I'd like to think so. And the reason that I think this is important is, again, if we do end up losing this support level, this is it. I mean, this is a cliff edge. I really don't see anything nice happening for Bitcoin if we are able to lose this support level right here, and that would be quite bad if you're worried about Bitcoin as an investment and so on. But actually, it's absolutely great if you're a trader, right? And the reason that's great is because this is a huge range until, the first area of support that I'm seeing is going to be down here at like 13,800, 14,000 and so on. We're looking at an easy 24% move, potentially, which is absolutely huge, absolutely enormous as a trader. And guys, if you want to be able to trade something like that, Bybit, in my opinion, is always going to be the place to be. It's actually a pretty clean position. Like I said, it's the kind of position that I would end up taking as well. I haven't actually told VIPs about what that would look like yet, because I haven't planned that trade out yet, but it is something that's quite appealing to me, just because I don't see a huge amount of risk, especially when you compare it to the upside. With minus 45% if we fall down to $10,000. I don't know if you think we're going to go down there, but it seems like everybody fucking does right now. So again, that to me is insulation. I don't think we actually would if everyone is saying we will. I've been saying this for quite some time, that I don't necessarily think that this market is actually ready to drop yet. Although, of course, the technical indicators are saying that. I'm willing to deviate from that analysis a little bit, because of what I'm seeing with the psychology in the market. But of course, still beautiful, plentiful trading opportunities. And guys, Bybit is offering you guys over $4,000 in bonuses if you want to trade these things as well. So you don't even need to trade. You can just sign up, make your first deposit, and you're going to get that cash in your account. So that's money that you can trade with. You can withdraw the profits that you make. Really, really cool. Actually, pretty quick to get these bonuses as well. So go ahead and check it out with the link in the description down below. It's going to help you out with free money, and it's going to help this YouTube channel out as well. So if you think that sounds cool, then I do appreciate you very much. But let's bring it back to the video very quickly, and talk about what might happen if we do end up kind of falling just a little bit lower. I want to focus your attention back on this rising wedge line right here. I actually quite like this. I don't think it's the end of the world if Bitcoin does come back down here, but what would be very concerning is if we ended up losing it, right? And if we end up losing it, that means literally just dropping below $19,200. We've already faked out a couple times below it. Down here, that was a 1.6% drop. Down here, that was a 1.5% drop. So, we have been breaking out of it a little bit, but, it didn't end up sticking. So we could kind of fake out below it and then come back up. That would actually be very typical for Bitcoin to kind of deviate below, and that's actually exactly what makes this kind of trading area, not this, but just in general, it makes trading difficult. But of course, that's where risk management comes in, right? Like you can't be, trading on any exchange, whether it's Bybit or whatever, and not have good risk management. You're just going to wipe yourself out. But what I think is interesting is that this could potentially be opening up. Obviously, the level that I'm a little bit more interested in is pretty much what we're at right now. To be honest, we're even a little bit below it, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, because I would generally actually prefer to draw this level a little bit more like this, kind of with a box, just to show you that there have been some important kind of reversals happening around this box, which stretches between 19.4 to 19.6. So we are right at the bottom of it. We're actually kind of below it right now. This is the important level that I didn't want the market to lose, and we've lost it, and that is a shame. But again, I think if we just kind of compare it to what's happening with the S&P 500, again, the S&P 500 is pretty much right back to its lows. I think this is a really important thing to be acknowledging right now. Bitcoin hit its lows a little bit before the S&P 500, but it's not close to those lows right now. We've still got quite a bit of room before we get down there, and I think that's still important to be keeping in mind. But nonetheless, that doesn't change the facts. We had 4-hour EMA support. That's gone to. Take a look at this on the 4-hour time frame. It did actually help us a little bit. We got this nice wick dipping into it, and then we bounced up, but we didn't get any subsequent real support, and the market has kind of now plunged below this level, which is a bit of a shame. And it's even more of a shame because it actually kind of confirms this EMA resistance resistance on the daily time frame again. So this is something that we've been watching a little bit. We haven't actually been able to break above this resistance with any real kind of price action. This was obviously quite a large fake out right here. Let's take a look at this. This was a 4-5% fake out right here, failed breakout. And since then, kind of we wick into it, we get rejected, wick into it, get rejected, and here we traded here for a couple of days, but we have been rejected yet again. There's still 4 hours left in this daily candle, so it could still change, but guys, let's be honest, it's not in a good position. So that EMA ribbon potentially causing some problems for Bitcoin, and on the daily time frame, the Ichimoku cloud still really casting quite a shadow over Bitcoin right now. But again, like I said, this is a little bit thinner now than it was previously, right? Look at how big the cloud was previously. Look at how much smaller it is now. I'm not saying that this is necessarily the best situation for Bitcoin, but it's certainly less bearish now than it was before, and I think that's really important. And the reason for that, that's why I love this indicator, is it just, I can explain to you why it's showing this, and it would take me probably like 3 to 5 minutes, or I can just show you the Ichimoku cloud, and it does it for me. But it's interesting, so I'm going to explain it anyway. The reason that we're seeing this Ichimoku cloud tighten up a little bit, and by the way, that's important because when the cloud gets smaller, that means the resistance is potentially getting weaker, right? So a bigger cloud means more resistance. Obviously, the resistance spans a larger area as well, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is the resistance is just stronger, and that tells us a lot about, what the resistance looks like, how likely we are to get rejected. But when it thins out, when the cloud gets smaller, that can also tell us a little bit about how strong that resistance is going to be. So ideally, we want very thin resistance clouds and very thick support clouds. And the reason that this is showing up this way is quite simply because over here, we ended up kind of forming a rally to the upside. And if we fast forward now, because of that, and because we've been able to hold these kind of price levels, we're starting to see this really kind of thin out, right? We're starting to see that the market is actually able to, potentially have some nicer opportunities to get higher now because we've challenged this area before. And we know because we've been reading trading analysis books, which are linked in the description down below. I teach this stuff as well. Obviously, it's in my 𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗡 Academy course. It's in 𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗡 VIP, but this stuff is expensive. If you don't want to buy it, there are links in the description to books that I've read that I learned from. One of the things that you'll know if you've studied TA and just generally analysis is that the more we, kind of hit our resistance levels, generally, the weaker they're going to be getting, right? And so I can show you a really good example of this if I go back. What I'm going to go back to is 2018 right here. Take a look at this. See, the more times we kind of kept hitting this cloud, the smaller it was getting, right? Take a look at this. We hit the cloud right here. It was absolutely huge. It was getting bigger actually because we just entered the bear market. But look at this. We kept hitting the cloud, kept hitting the cloud, kept hitting the cloud, and it was thinning out, right? We didn't actually end up breaking out. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for Bitcoin back here, but the trend is very clear, right? The more times we keep kind of punching this cloud, the more it's going to thin out and become weaker. It's really such a genius indicator. I mean, it's one of my favorites in the market. I've been using it since 2018, and I haven't looked back ever since. It's served me very, very well, for over 4 years now. So well that actually I've mentioned this before. Our lead analyst behind the 𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗏 VIP group, he actually wrote a whole paper about it. And I'm not going to reveal who he is, obviously. He's staying with me, but he is absolutely hugely passionate about it, even more than me, which is somewhat hard to believe. And that is because this is such a reliable indicator. If you want to learn how to use this indicator in a little bit more detail, just punch this into the YouTube search bar. This is actually, again, part of my 𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗏 Academy course, which you get by following these steps on screen. But I have made some of those videos free to the public, and this is one of them. So go ahead and type this into the YouTube search bar if you want to be able to watch my Ichimoku tutorial on how to get this indicator, how to use it, and all that good stuff. And guys, just while you're doing that, do me a favor and just smash up the likes, subscribe, make sure you've ticked the bell as well if you do appreciate all this content. Again, you know the deal. We're keeping this very, very level-headed, and obviously just making sure that all this amazing content is available to you guys, especially the most important pieces. I don't want to put all of it behind a paywall. Obviously, there's a lot going on behind VIP and 𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗏 Academy as well. If you do want to find out, I'm not going to talk about it right now. There's a lot going on, but some of these important pieces as well, like the Ichimoku tutorial, the VPVR tutorial, things that are just kind of the really, really what my analysis kind of relies on quite a bit, certainly doesn't rely on, but what I use quite often, that's available to you guys. So please do check it out, while it is available for free, because it certainly fucking shouldn't be. Anyway, let's move on and talk a little bit more about what we're seeing in the short term here. I want to focus on some of our support levels and just talk about these flips that we should have been seeing, but unfortunately didn't get. What I really wanted to see was that if we do kind of fall down to this level, that we would end up flipping this area, from resistance into support. It's not too late to do that. This could obviously just kind of be a bit of a deviation and then we kind of climb back up, but we don't have too long to do that, and we certainly shouldn't dip any lower. I mean, we've pushed the limits already, but if we are able to get back up, then yeah, I would be seeing this area as resistance yet again, kind of 20,200, 20,300, around there. And if we're able to get above this, then yeah, again, blue sky breakout potentially. Not huge, but still something that looks quite nice. Let's take a look at how this translates over to Ethereum. Yeah, and we're kind of right back into this range. It's a little bit better for Ethereum because this area, I'm sure if we look at the VPVR, this area has a lot of support where we are right now. Yeah, right now, look at this. Look at this. So if I just kind of draw a box where this spike takes place, look at that. I mean, this is exactly where the support is. So it's a little bit better for Ethereum, but it's still kind of the same picture. I mean, ideally we would have already bounced from this level. We bounced from this level once before. Are we going to get bounce number 2? I don't know. Obviously, I don't hold a crystal ball, but it's not looking too bad. It's it's not looking great, but it's certainly not looking too bad. Ethereum, I think, is a little bit harder to read right now, just in the very short-term chart. But if we do zoom in, it's I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's looking pretty good. It does have quite... Ooh, yeah, look at this. It does actually have quite a nasty kind of bear flag developing right here. Let's take a look at this on the 8-hour. Yeah, this is pretty clear. Look at this. Look at this. Quite a nasty kind of bear flag paint being painted right here. So that's not ideal. I'm not really liking that. The doorbell is about to go off. I'm so sorry, guys. So I'm not actually quite liking that. But if this does end up kind of falling down, we do at least have a little bit of support. Unfortunately, if we lose it, then yeah, I'm looking at potentially just kind of revisiting this low. This is kind of where Ethereum was finding some resistance when it fell below its previous all-time high that it set in 2018. So this could end up being support. Maybe we get a bounce off there, but if not, potentially revisiting this absolute low that we set around the $1,000 mark. So that is something that I'm seeing as potentially being problematic. I've got a food delivery at the door, but this video is more important. And actually, to be fair, I've actually finished up here. So if you have enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And I'll see you all in the next one. Guys, check out Bybit for that amazing bonus. That is $4,000. That's going to be credited right into your account if you sign up using the link in the description down below. So go ahead and check that out if you want that free cash. I'm going to go get my food now because I've been lifting and I need to get this protein in, ladies and gents. Smash up the like, subscribe, tick the bell, and I'm out. Bye-bye.